This is Vinnie Moore.
Hi, this is Rick Allen from Def Leppard.
This is Mike Dean from Corrosion Conformity.
This is Spider from Power Man 5000.
Hey, this is Danny. And this is Sam. We're half of Greta Van Fleet. The important half.
Hey, what's up? I'm Nick Hexum from 311.
And I am Brad Arnold from Three Doors Down, and you are watching Rock Titan.
Change, but yeah, man, I wish I was a little bit more well inclined to how a laptop or a computer functions.
Be careful what you wish for, Stone. Be careful what you wish for. But everybody, welcome back to the Rock Titan podcast. I am Scotty J, and it's been a minute, for all of you that have been following the Rock Titan podcast. If you go back and you check out what's going on, you'll be like, oh my God, where did Scotty J go? What happened? Well, I took a little sabbatical, but it's funny how inspiration works, right? So one of my friends reached out to me a little while ago, and she happens to be one of the best publicists in the game, hands down. I never turn her down. She's like, Scott, I need you to check out a band for me, all right? Tell me what you think. And it's a band called Prtty Ridiculous. And we are joined by them right now. Stone, the lead singer, songwriter, everything. Prtty Ridiculous. And I was so excited to get back into it. And Stone, I'm telling you, man, I think you might have resurrected me completely. Brought me back, made me realize why I love doing this in the first place. And so everybody, again, you don't have to worry. Scotty J is going to be with you quite a bit on the Rock Titan podcast moving forward. And Stone is the reason. How you doing, man?
Yeah, nowhere else I'd rather be right
Of
now.
course. Yeah, so, the name of your band is Prtty Ridiculous, but I have to imagine you're pretty serious if you're with me right here, right now. I guess I'm looking back, I'm searching everything I can to find out everything there is to know about you. And it seems, correct me if I'm wrong, Stone, but you kind of started out this musical journey as you are right now, like right around when COVID was kind of at its peak. Would that be accurate?
Exactly. It gave me a lot of time. I mean, there was nothing else to do during COVID, and I was in a band before this in college that I was very, very happy to be in, and it was a little bit more of a group in the sense that it was me and another writer who I love so dearly, and we just had very different ideas for where we wanted this to go.
Okay.
Marred by a lot of just situational issues involving the other members of the band. And I just kind of decided I think I want to go heavier, and I want to do something that resonates with me a little bit deeper, where I also get to be the boss. I like being the boss. It's very fun. So I took the dive, for lack of a better term, and COVID gave me the opportunity to do that because there was nothing else to do for a little while,
It's kind of funny how it was like a blessing and a curse, all at the same time. And I know a lot of people, including people in my family, were very adversely, affected by it. But like you said, at the same time, it forced people to think about things in a whole new way, no matter what you were involved with. And I noticed just from speaking with so many artists like yourselves that it really got the creative juices flowing, and it gave you time to do things that you might not otherwise do. Touring certainly wasn't something that could be done, not the way anybody wanted to, at least. So you kind of had to think, all right, this is what I love to do. How can I still be productive? How can I still be constructive doing this? So, and that's, I guess was that the formation of Prtty Ridiculous?
Yeah, it was. It was just such a weird moment. I feel like that sort of undercuts how terrible it was for a lot of people. I'm very fortunate that I was able to avoid any of the actual sickness, and no one in my family just was harmed through that.
Good.
So it did kind of give me the freedom of mind and space to try something a little bit different. It was a really nice gestation period because I had probably about a year from 2020 to 2021 when the first song came out to really hone in on precisely what it is that I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. I did the 3 beat a day thing, just producing absolutely atrocious pieces of music that will never be heard. People pay a very nice amount of money to see it. And that taught me a lot about becoming a producer. I had some sessions with people over Zoom where I would be a shadow literally just a blacked out shadow box, and they would be like, "Oh, my assistant is here today, just to help facilitate everything going well." And when in truth, I was watching their what they were doing in the sessions, how they were utilizing the software, how they were using the hardware to record. And it taught me a lot because I wasn't really a producer prior to that, and I figured moving to LA, I was a lot more useful, not only to myself but to others, because I also am a session player.
Right on.
If I could run the session and run the software, which was very, very challenging at first. It made no sense to me until it did.
Okay. Now, this is where my ADHD is going to kick in, everybody. I know this is what y'all love about me. And so, Stone, I apologize to you because there were some questions that I had, but then you brought something up about being out on the West Coast. So now I'm shifting all over the place. But I'll come back to what I wanted to talk about with kind of, the direction of your career and, wanting to change things up from when you first started out being in other bands. But so being on the West Coast, you were originally an East Coast guy, yeah?
Yes, sir. Miami, Florida is where I was born.
Okay. All right. See, now I don't necessarily think of Miami as East Coast because I'm up like in the Philadelphia region, so I think of Philly, Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, New York, that whole, I think of that as like East Coast, you know what I mean? So you're down there in Miami.
Yes. Well, actually, funny enough, I went to college in Boston.
Okay.
So I ran the Northeastern Gambit a few times, and I love it up there. I actually really miss it, especially this time of year. Looking at it, not a terribly sunny Los Angeles day outside my window, but enough to remind me what it's like when the leaves start falling elsewhere. And I do miss that very dearly. I love the East Coast.
We got that in spades right now, man. Like some leaves are still on the trees, but we're going through that change of season, which I love. I can't imagine living anywhere else. This is home for me. But all that being said, so the fact that you went out to LA, did you go out to LA specifically to pursue a music career, or were there other reasons that took you out there?
Just that one reason, the one you mentioned, just to give this a right shot.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I came out with that other band I was in, who I'm still very close to everybody.
And you thought LA would be it versus, say, Nashville, which seems to be the music hub of the world now, and then Austin, that's budding, that's popping. LA was it though, huh?
The biggest reason for Los Angeles was because I already knew so many people that were moving. That was their idea, and that sort of gave me a leg up. I went to Berkeley in Boston. And basically, it's a pipeline from Boston, Massachusetts to Los Angeles. So hundreds of people that I went to college with moved here, which meant I had a built-in community. I had friends already. I didn't have to go out and make new friends if I didn't want to, which of course I have. But I could basically just move the scenery to a different living room and do the same stuff, work with the same people. And evolve with these people. Many of them are still my friends who I run into every so often. I was actually at a bar the other night watching my bassist play in an Arctic Monkeys cover band, Chris,
who
I picture to have on. And about half of the people at this bar were Berkeley kids. And of course, the first remark is, "You haven't changed a bit, Stone, have you?" And I'm like, I don't think the word change is ingrained in my DNA. I've always looked like this. So thankfully,
right on.
A few more wrinkles and maybe a little more eyeliner, and that's about the only difference.
Wrinkles. Don't talk to me about wrinkles, man, because I know I got a number of years on you, but it's all good. It's all good. But so you actually talking about your education at Berkeley, I guess that it really did answer one of my questions that I was going to ask you before ADHD kicked in on my end, which I will have throughout the course of this conversation, I promise you. But yeah, so you do have a formal music education then. This wasn't something where you just kind of went into music because it was a passion, it was natural. Obviously it's a passion, but you do have a formal education in like music theory and everything like that, yeah?
Yeah, and that came about obviously from getting in and having fun. Prior to Berkeley though, I was pretty much just like a self-taught kid playing Yngwie Malmsteen songs in my room.
Look at you. All right.
I loved like the 80s hair metal shredders growing up. Eddie Van Halen is the reason I started playing. Van Halen's probably my favorite band of all time.
Okay.
the classic rock, John, is very much what started it, and that, your music taste evolves as you get older and you find more interesting things. Obviously, I went to what I appropriately refer to as jazz school, because they make you play a lot of heady jazz stuff, and I like doing it. I actually really enjoy it. It's just not what I want to make, but I really enjoyed playing it. Actually, when I'm bored, I'll sit and I'll play stuff that sounds nothing like the music that I make at all, because it's just fun to do,
I want to get into some of the different musical talents that you have above and beyond being a most excellent vocalist, truly. So you talk. It's interesting because you mentioned Malmsteen, you mentioned Eddie Van Halen, and your rock and roll roots and your passion there. Now I'm playing your music, right? I'm playing your videos, and everybody, by the way, Prtty Ridiculous. They got some pretty ridiculous music videos out there. That's one of the reasons why I got into this. I miss MTV, like what it truly was, VH1 later on, and we know everything that's transpired since then. It is what it is now. But man, music videos, I absolutely love. Clearly, Stone, so do you, because you've produced some really awesome work in that vein. So everybody, we'll have links for you and everything. So you got to go definitely check that out. But I'm playing your music, and my wife's listening, and she's like, "Oh wow, that sounds like Nine Inch Nails." All right, I'm dating myself here, right? Because we were when 9 Inch Nails first started coming out, and Trent Reznor and all that good stuff, and obviously they're big again. There was a big lull where they hadn't done anything, and now here they are, and they're larger than life again, which is awesome. Have you ever had that comparison? Like when I say 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor to you, does that seem at all like, oh, okay, yeah, because your music really does have that vibe.
He's my North Star. They're my favorite band of all time. Did you see them on the tour this year?
No, I did
not.
My
God. Scott, it's better than ever. I saw them about 12 years ago with Soundgarden.
Oh my God! Yeah,
and they did the co-headline thing,
and
that was when I first kind of. So Hesitation Marks was the first record I heard. Obviously, I'd heard Head Like a Hole and the hits on rock radio growing up, and at that time, as I sort of mentioned earlier, my interests were still a little bit more in the new wave 80s hair metal thing. So both, new wave, like I love Depeche Mode, and I love this what I'm confusing the Strokes with the Smiths in my brain.
Right. Yeah.
And then at the same time listening to a lot of Motley Crue, doing like the Ozzy, Metallica, John, the things you listen to when you're 12 and 13 years old, when you're sort of being introduced to early classic rock, so to speak. I understand that 80s is not technically classic
rock now.
I walked backwards. I got into the 70s and the 60s after getting into the 80s, and then the 90s appeared at some point. And when I was in high school, I really wanted to listen to darker stuff. So I got into like death metal, like Children of Bodom and Death, Dimmu Borgir and all the Norwegian black metal bands and all that stuff, because I wanted to scare people. I liked that with my music taste. But somewhere in there came the industrial stuff. And that's when it was like an arrow straight to the chest. I was like, oh, this is what I like. I like something that has a very simple structure, feels kind of terrifying. There's something about it that it makes you want to dance, but it's also uncomfortable in the most beautiful way. And I sort of discovered that was the sort of media and art that I like, things that are challenging in some way, shape, or another. So I started listening to 9 Inch Nails pretty much religiously. And as I got older, I just kind of saw a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of Trent in myself, because that seems a little an elevated stature of one's own opinion of themselves. But I don't know. I just really liked that there was this really well-trained killer musician who just wanted to make disgusting, dirty beats that sound haunting and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Man. All right. So nailed it. You nailed it.
I describe my music as a Charli XCX and 9 Inch Nails stole your car.
Yeah, man. Oh my God. That's killer. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say then, if you ever had the opportunity to be an opening act for Nine Inch Nails, it'd be like, you died and went to heaven, or whatever you believe in as far as that goes. That would be like the be all end all, yeah?
The gates would open wide open.
Oh my
Be
God.
right there. Literally, you could take me right then. I'll be like, okay, I've done it. I would do anything for that gig. I just want to meet him, just shake his hand and say thanks.
Well, I'll tell you this, you definitely have the right representation, okay? I'll tell you that. I mean, if anyone can make it happen, it's who you're working with right now. I'm not going to call out any names, obviously, because I don't want to make them uncomfortable or anything, but you know what I'm talking about, obviously, because that's why we're talking right now. But, man, that would be the bee's knees if that could happen. And honestly, I mean, it's a perfect fit, and you're polished. I mean, and I'm not just saying that to flatter you because we're talking right now. I mean, everybody, again, Prtty Ridiculous, Stone is the man. You got to go check him out. Your music is so polished. I mean, you'd think that, you've been doing it, I'll say professionally, a lot longer than you have been, even though you've been playing, like you said, for a long time, and you went to school for it and everything like that. But as far as like touring goes, right? Because the music industry now, and I've talked to probably almost every musician, like I'm talking to you right now about this very subject matter. It is very difficult, even in the streaming age, to make a single dime, off your actual music. Like in terms of people paying to hear you play other than live, it's very challenging, right? It's not like people are selling CDs and albums and even, single tracks digitally and all that stuff anymore. It just doesn't exist. People are making their money on the tour trail. That's where that and merch, right? So from a touring perspective, have you done any big tours of note? Is there anyone in particular? Like, have you been on any, like a Danny Wimmer, type tours or anything like that?
No, you're catching me right at the apex, right at the beginning. The reason I haven't really put anything together yet is just because I wanted to feed the bear here in Los Angeles for a little bit, so to speak.
Okay.
To kind of get us ready. Now only been playing live for a year. I spent the better part of those 3 years building up a repertoire in terms of what we would actually perform for people and gaining the audience digitally, which we both understand is remarkably challenging in and of itself. And then I wanted to hit the stage when I felt like I had also found my guys. That was another big challenge. People to play the music with that were really into it and were very, very fun to hang out with backstage. That's very important to, any session, any musician will tell you this. A big part of getting the job is, are you a good hang? If you can do your job, that's one thing. But if I actually enjoy spending time with you and you enjoy spending time with me, that makes the actual performance feel so much more alive because you're just watching people have a good time, actually enjoy being there.
Right on. So Stone, how many people make up Prtty Ridiculous then? How many are in your band?
It's a trio when we play live.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how long have you been together?
I would say about a year now.
Really? Wow.
We started really playing. And I think the first gig was October of 2024. So yeah, it's been exactly a year, almost.
Okay.
And it's great that I found these dudes. I got JD and Chris. JD on drums, Chris on bass. Known Chris for probably 10 years. We went to Berkeley together. Through him, I met JD. Who's the go?
Okay. Right on. Now, in terms of like EP, LP, obviously you've got a lot of, you've got a pretty good catalog of music out there right now, certainly enough for an EP. Have you formally put one out? Like, do you actually have an actual pressed EP for Prtty Ridiculous out there right now? Or what's that situation?
So in January, I released the first sort of extended project, the EP.
Okay.
And that was fun. That was fun to make. Remarkably heartbreaking. At a lot of points down the line there, but yeah, it's called Theater of the Absurd.
Theater of the Absurd. All right, everybody. Theater of the Absurd. Go grab it.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it's 6 tracks. It's definitely a concept record in the sense that it's a story unfolding in 3 parts of just me coming here and trying to figure this whole thing out. It's very much a mirror to the journey, but it's really fun, man. And starts as heavy as I could make it. I wanted it to close with something, to me, the most space age thing that I could have done, instead of go all out and make an even heavier closer that just hits you in the face. I wanted to make something I've never done before, which was almost kind of a acoustic song, acoustic ballad. And I think the best song we've written, the best song I've written, called Star. And it's very much a song you can't enjoy without listening to the rest of the record. But if you do the whole 6 songs, you get all the way to the end, it's a very gratifying ending. Kind of like I wanted to do Hurt by Nine Inch Nails. Who doesn't want to make a song like that?
Right? Oh my God. Yeah.
But he already made that vibe. I feel like it would be very disingenuous of me to be like, okay, I'm going to remake Hurt, and it's going to be dark and haunting and feel the way that song feels, which is lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
There's no way to capture that essence. And I don't think anyone's really nailed it. Obviously, Johnny Cash did an amazing version of it, but it was still Johnny Cashified.
Right.
You know? Right. So I just made whatever came out. I sat in a session with my producer, Sam. Him and I work on a lot of stuff together. And generally, I will bring him a production. I'll bring him a track. And I'll be like, isn't this nuts? And he'll be like, I can just see his face sink. He's like, how do I deal with this kid, man?
Oh, that's funny.
Things on this one bass. What do I do with this? I'm like, just trust me, Sam. It's excellent. It's always really loud and aggressive and egregious. And we did the opposite. We just came in with a guitar, and we brought in this girl, Samantha. It was the first time I ever met her. She's now a dear friend of mine. And we've written a lot of songs together.
Nice.
Since this was probably July of last year.
Okay.
And I didn't come in empty-handed. I had a melody and I had the chords. I had the harmony. And I just played it. And in 20 minutes, we had this song, Star, written. And we all kind of, it's that moment where you look at each other and go, all right, I can hang my hat on this. I feel very, very good about this. It's still one of my favorite songs. It does stand out a little bit. If you see the music video, I also went a little less theatrical and a little bit more letting the city do the talking. That was really the main character.
Okay.
It was Los Angeles, the town, as opposed to me.
So does that like predate Plastic and Hollywood and those tracks then?
No, it supersedes those. So Plastic and Hollywood Lies are older than the EP.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
6 new songs that weren't released prior for the EP.
All right. All right. Cool. Oh man. Well, I'll look forward to go back and checking those out. So, I mean, obviously I've heard your vocals and I've seen you in your videos, which again, everybody got to go check them out. They're like really, really well done. I mean, first off, who produced those videos? Have you used the same producer? Have they been different people? Have you done them yourselves? Like, what went into that? Because I mean, they look like anything I would have seen on MTV in the glory days, man. Honestly.
So you're talking like the Plastic, Hollywood Lies.
Yeah. Like, I guess you've got like 5 out there right now that I would have seen. Yeah, Star. Yeah. So yeah.
So for the Plastic, Hollywood Lies, anything basically pre-EP was one of my best friends in the world. His name is Luis Zavaleta. Wow. Him and I also went to college together, and he's a few years older than me, so he's been doing this for a little while. A remarkable director, color editor, writer. He's also a crazy musician. I tell this all the time. He's the most beautiful voice I've ever heard.
Wow.
And one of my best friends in the world, and we would do it very guerrilla style. It would just be me and him. There's no one else involved 9 times out of 10. It's just him with a camera. Every so often, like Hollywood Lies, we would get like a 19-year-old assistant, like this kid. I can't remember his name, but he just wanted experience. And he was like, I'll just like carry stuff and help you guys out. But it's usually just him shooting, me acting. We come up with the concept pretty quickly over coffee.
Wow.
And we'll be like, all right, I got the budget's pretty small. What can we do? He's like, we'll make it work. And we always did it. I actually own all of the costumes. They're in that closet.
Wow. Well, that's impressive.
It was just cheaper to go to a thrift store and buy this stuff than rent it from some, costuming house in Burbank. I was just, okay, like I own the dresses, like the high video where I have the dress.
Yeah.
I have that. And so I never have any qualms about Halloween time. It's the easiest season of all, man. I just go dig through the closet behind me, through the props department in my closet. And those videos are so fun, man, because we would just shoot for probably about 12 hours straight. We would usually skip lunch. Sometimes we'd be like, all right, let's order something quick. But we would just follow the roll, man, and do what we could. And we'd be finished. And like 2 weeks later, he'd have an edit to me. He's the craziest man I've ever met in my life. And one of my closest friends. And then Star and Tethered, which were the ones that came out this year, were done by my sinister, I call her my sinister sister. To say that 10 times.
Sinister sister, right on. I love it.
Best friends, also remarkably talented, Miss Whitney Ott. Whitney's a rock star, man. She goes on tour. She was just on tour with the Struts, Kelsey Carter.
Wow. Okay.
She did Wargasms last tour, and she's one of my best friends in the world. I've known her for years. And her and I do a lot of the social media stuff, pretty much all the social media stuff you've been seeing that looks like a little bit higher production value.
Yeah.
That's her and I. It's kind of the same thing. For Tethered, it was just me and her in a warehouse. And we just shot 8-9 hours. You know, a lot of direction in terms of what we wanted, but it was very improv feeling. We could be like, okay, that corner looks great. Am I allowed to curse on here, by the way?
Sure, man. Yeah, let her rip.
I've refrained from dropping a few F-bombs, so I wasn't sure if I could. But yeah,
it's all good.
That corner was fucking sick. We gotta go hang out over there. And then for Star, it was the same thing. I just picked her up from her apartment, got a nice camera, and just drove around the city. And she's like, all right, there's a few places we need to hit. You know, obviously the Walk of Fame, the boardwalk. But if we pass something that looked nice, we would just stop, post up. And again, it's high effort for high art, but it's the easiest thing of all time because I'm working with people that I love and that actually, as I said before, get to spend time with, and I really respect and admire them. And they're just the best, man. They help me do this. I'm visually not the best in terms of creating that stuff. I can tell you what I like. I can certainly tell you what I don't like. But when it comes to having a fully fleshed out sort of board of how we're going to get this done, I leave that to the professionals. I'm just here to dance and do my bit as often as possible.
Well, it's incredibly well done, Stone. I mean, honestly, and you're a natural, you know, from the acting perspective, and amazing voice. And so that's one of the things I wanted to get back to, and then we'll talk about the future, and then I'll let you go because I know you got better things to do than just talk to me all day. But again, we're here with Stone from Prtty Ridiculous, and thank you for joining me on the Rock Titan podcast. So beyond singing, you talked about so you play guitar, yeah? I mean, you're talking about Malmsteen earlier, Eddie Van Halen being an inspiration, role model for you. Do you play anything other than guitar?
Honestly, I could play the bass if I need to, but guitar that's my whole thing. You know, I'm not a singer who plays guitar. I'm a guitar player who sings. I got lead singer syndrome pretty early. I was like, you know what? I was like watching Hetfield and Metallica, and I was like, I kind of want to do that. Like, it's fun to be Kirk. That's cool too. But it's his band. You know, if you sing, it's kind of your band. And I really wanted something that was mine. So I very reluctantly and sheepishly stood up to the mic and just tried it. And turns out I wasn't too bad. But I'm not Celine Dion, certainly. But I don't have to be. I got what I call perpetual rock voice. This is excellent. You know?
Yeah, man.
I can sing very well, and I love it. And it just so happens to be what I actually enjoy, which is really wonderful. But I was a guitar player first. I'm still a guitar player first. You know, everything for me is very much guitar driven. There's a lot more guitar on the records than it sounds like there are, but I also try not to let that dictate whatever the vibe of the song, is. Like, Plastic's a really good example, as is Hollywood Lies, where there are guitars. There's more guitars than you think, but it's still very much the digital elements. It's kind of like Trent. He's a brilliant pianist, and that comes into the music very often, but never in the sense that he has to shoehorn that in. You know what I mean?
Right on. Now, when it comes to playing live, do you play guitar and sing at the same time when you're performing live?
I do. That was a very fun challenge because I realized I did not think of that when I wrote this stuff. I knew I was going to have to do it, and I would write riffs that were very, very easy on guitar, but then when you sing a vocal over it, it's the whole patting your head and rubbing your stomach thing. Which
Yes.
so I would literally sit in this room, put on the song, and just try. And I eventually, after like a week or two, was able to do it.
A week or two. That's amazing, man.
It's not like it was that natural. Thankfully, I knew
that is natural. What are you talking about, man? Oh my God. I would think it would take like literally years to be able to sing and play guitar at the same time. Like say you're a really good singer, you're a really good guitar player, but you've never married the two together, Like you just said, it's like, rubbing your head or patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. Like, forget it, man. For me, I got 2 left feet. There's no chance. I can't walk and chew gum, Now, everybody's different. But I mean, that's not an easy thing. And you picked it up in a week.
Well, I should preface this. In my old band, I also sang, but it was like a John Paul thing. My boy Jack, he was Paul. I was John. I was the dark, brooding one that liked to write about death. And he was the impish and whimsical one, to quote that Jack Black movie.
Okay.
The Dewey Cox story where they go to visit the Beatles, and it's true that it was Jack Black, and I think Paul Rudd was John. The funniest thing in the world. But that was basically it. So we would split the vocal duties, and we were never playing anything that was as musically difficult as Prtty Ridiculous, because a lot of the songs we were writing were written to be played and sang at the same time. So it was a much easier endeavor. Whereas I would go into the studio and I'd be like, yo, check out this crazy thing I did today. And Sam would be like, what's happening? His head would just fall into his hands. And then he would turn to me a lot. He'd be like, how are we going to sing and play this? And I just went, I'll figure it out.
Right on.
And that time actually came, like Plastic's an easy one. Plastic's not too hard, because rhythmically it's a little weird, but not that bad. Then there's songs like Blackout. Singing and playing that song, they don't like each other. It sounds great when you nail them, but man, it's weird. It's even to the point my bass player will turn to me sometimes and be like, I don't know how you're doing that. I'm like, But if Hetfield can do it, I mean, listening to like Battery, off of Master of Puppets, and I'm like, hey, listen, that's the North Star for that kind of playing.
I love it, man. You got an old soul, Stone. I love it. I love it. All right, so being conscious of our time here, what is next for Prtty Ridiculous? Like, what can we look forward to, throughout the winter, spring? What are you going to be working over there in LA? And, what's on the horizon for 2026?
So what we did this year is I started releasing music that was a little bit more, it does have a little bit more of the metal moniker on it. Still retains what I love about the kind of dance music, hyper poppy elements. But in 2026, we have some crazy shit planned. I think in this year alone, not including the EP, we've done probably 6 or 7 other songs that we're finishing up right now, many of which are done. I just need to get them mixed.
Sweet. So
the first one that comes out in January, and I can announce this here, is called The Death of a Cowboy. And it's kind of the sibling to Star in a way, but if it had death metal growls on it. In the weirdest way ever. I've never done that before. This is the first time I do like a proper like metal scream is in this song, which I'm very excited for. And that was also a remarkably taxing day in the studio, but a very fun one. After that, it's just more singles until hopefully I can I'd love to make another EP or album, but right now I'm just focusing on being extremely consistent in terms of the ubiquitous nature of the music industry, having a song every few weeks, kind of being all over the airwaves, so to speak, or social media. So the focus right now is just making sure that this is as many different places as we could put it. And hopefully I look good every time. I have to work on that one.
Well, you definitely have the theatrical presence. There's no question about that. But I mean, you just said it. I mean, as far as like getting your music out there, in as many different mediums as possible, because like one thing I can definitely, you talk about Death of a Cowboy, man. It's like, like it would have been awesome to get that into like the new season of Landman that's coming up, like I love that. Or like, the spin-off of Yellowstone, that I know that's going to be coming. Like getting, and what I'm going at, that's just one particular genre, of course, but soundtracks, man. getting your music out there to where it's not just being consumed specifically as music, but as the backing, like adrenaline, experience of a major production, television, movie, commercial, whatever, and then in terms of getting like international play, like on Sirius XM or anything like that, have you had the opportunity to get your music played out there at all? Because I mean, I've not heard it if you have, but have you had that opportunity?
I have not, and I'm looking very forward to that part of this journey really starting.
All right.
Where we sort of start to see the fruits of our labors, all the work that we've put in, me and the people I work with. We care about this so much, and we obviously want to see it be as big as possible, and then bigger. And I know that we can, and I know that we will. It's a when, not if situation. And with the help of our dear friend who put us together, I feel like that.
I believe you. Yes, absolutely. I believe it's going to happen, man. So just the music itself out there, on satellite radio, terrestrial radio out there, all over the LA airwaves. I don't know what kind of rock stations they have out there, but I imagine they got to be pretty good. Get out there, in the soundtracks, movies, commercials, whatever it takes. I mean, you definitely belong in that space for sure. And I know you're going to be very successful. And I feel honored, to be talking to you right now, Stone. And all I can say is when you do make it really huge, don't forget about me, man. Like you remember way back when you were first starting out. Oh yeah, Scotty J over at Rock Titan. I remember when he was talking to me before I was like this international sensation. I'll still talk to him, right?
Oh, as I said just moments ago, there's going to be lifetime backstage passes for you and the missus.
I love that, man. I appreciate that. All right.
It's a great hang. So
I'm holding you to it, dude. I'm holding you to it. So again, everybody, we are here with Stone from Prtty Ridiculous, and 2026 is going to be a big year. But with everything we just discussed, and I'll have the links in there so you can go and check out Star and everything that's already come out, the EP that was released last year. And I mean, great music. The future looks very bright, and I'm encouraged by your generation. And thank you again for your time. It's been a blast speaking with you. And again, everybody, I'm Scotty J. You are watching the Rock Titan podcast. Stick around for other great material. At the end of this, you're going to see some of the other podcasts that we've done and other musicians that we've featured, both new like Stone and some that are just absolute legends. And I will not be a stranger from now on, and Stone, don't you dare be either, huh?
Certainly not, my friend. The honor is all mine, Scott.
Thank you, brother.
Very, very much.
Thank you. Again, I'm Scotty J. You're watching Rock Titan. We're out.
Name of just another sellout. Will I be a star?